the implementation of the new motor vehicle inspection system for vehicle registration and renewals seems to be having birthing problems. This edition of Motoring Forum discusses the issues that cropped up as motorists begin to deal with a new process aimed at ensuring roadworthiness of vehicles on the streets.
It's been a long time coming, but finally Motor Vehicle Inspection Centers, or MVICs, are certifying the roadworthiness of motor vehicles and their passing of emission standards before registration with the LTO. The establishment of MVICs, or Motor Vehicle Inspection Stations as they were called then, has been talked about since the 1980s. In the 1990s, looking to implement various laws aimed at making motoring and roads safer, the LTO set up 4 MVICs donated by the Japan International Cooperation Agency in Metro Manila as part of the plan to set up more nationwide. The MVICs were supposed to just test taxis. But mainly because of the lack of funding, the project never took off, and the MVICs rotted away beyond repair. That plans for their rehabilitation in the 2000s failed to get off the ground. Finally, more than a decade into the new millennium, with the number of vehicles running into the hundreds of thousands and into the millions, authorities thought of privatizing MVICs, much like it did in authorizing private emission testing centers, or PETCs, to enforce Clean Air Act, mandating all registered motor vehicles to meet emission standards. This should solve funding problems.
Hindi po ito bago, but nung nanungkulan po yung bagong administrasyon, nakita yung pagkukulang nito, kaya pinilit pong binuhay o buhayin para magamit ito fully. Just too bad that at that time, wala po talaga kaming makitang pondong magagamit. Kaya isa pong napag-isipan is that may isang presentasyon po ang private and public partnership kung saan ipinanukala nila na meron namang kakayahan ng pribadong sektor na sila ang mag-finance sa pagpuputap nito. Na in-entertain naman po ito at pinag-aralan, at nung makitang posible po ito, isinagawa po yung programa na para mabigyan ng pagkakataon yung private sector makilahok at magbigay ng serbisyong pwede naman nilang i-participate para matiyak po natin na yung mga sasakyang gagamitin talaga is that roadworthy, no?
The plan was to establish private motor vehicle inspection centers, which will also conduct emission testing, essentially taking over the function from PETCs. By 2020, the DOTR and its line agency, the LTO, were ready for the shift to PMVICs. Guidelines for PMVIC operations finalized, sites for PMVICs were listed and awarded to applicant operators. Facilities and personnel for would-be operators were vetted. All was being readied in fast track even when the COVID-19 pandemic locked down communities. In October 2020, the DOTR and the LTO finally authorized a number of PMVICs to begin operations. To date, 24 PMVICs have been given provisional authorities to operate, subject to testing of motor vehicles, motorcycles and tricycles, and jeepneys. Vehicles must pass 68 tests to ensure that they are roadworthy and safe for use on streets and that they meet emission standards set by the government. Aside from tests for emissions of exhaust, there are 3 levels or stages of testing. Stage 1 involves visual inspection of 32 exterior and 29 interior and under chassis parts. Stage 2 involves machine or automated tests that cover alignment, suspension, brakes, and speedometer. Stage 3 involves testing of lights, sound level of engine, and exhaust. The DOTR maintains the automated tests to remove much of the human element or involvement and therefore lessen chances of corruption and ensure all vehicles that pass the strict and comprehensive inspection are truly roadworthy.
Dito po, hindi pwede yung non-appearance. Kasi po, sa unang step pa lang, pag dilan mo yung sasakyan mo for evaluation, ina-identify at kumbaga, sinisino yung identity ng sasakyan, yung pagmamayari, yung engine number, chassis number. At ito po yung record. At even yung evaluator po na magagawa ng inspection, rinirehistro niya po ang kanyang identity para matiyak kung sakaling merong question sa dulo. Halimbawa, na merong gustong clarifyin, ma-identify kung sino dapat magpaliwanag nun kasi siya nag-inspect. Ang mga readings po, ginagawa ng mga metro, mga gauges na nakapaloob doon sa buong equipment. Hindi po ito natitinker ng mga evaluators, mga inspectors, kaya po yung marireflect at the end of the inspection, marireflect na sa report yung mga readings po ng gauges, mga readings ng metro.
Furthermore, the DOTR said test results are computer generated and the inspections are recorded by CCTV cameras at each stage of the testing. All automated or machine testing equipment are directly linked to the information technology system of the LTO. In the recent weeks, complaints about test results at certain PMVICs surfaced on social media. Some come from owners of latest model cars failing brake or other mechanical tests, even after having brought them to the casa for preventive maintenance servicing. These reports spawned comments, memes, and posts alluding to PMVIC anomalies, especially when contrasted against posts of owners of owner-type jeepneys proudly showing passing tests. Others reported damage to all-wheel drive systems while undergoing mechanical tests at some PMVICs. One particular post showed an SUV failing the sound test with these supposed computer-generated results recording totally outlandish decibel levels. In some of the cases, the DOTR or PMVICs concerned took pains to explain the circumstances behind some of the complaints. But always the DOTR remains steadfast in saying that the PMVIC program will continue as it addresses both the objective of reducing road accidents due to ill-maintained and unsafe vehicles, as well as corruption in the process of vehicle registration. Already, the DOTR announced the opening of 209 more sites or locations for PMVICs and that it has begun receiving applications. The DOTR added that it was also seeking government funding for setting up government-owned and operated MVICs. Meanwhile, as there are still a lot of regions and cities without PMVICs, the DOTR and LTO are still allowing the registration of vehicles using certifications from PETCs and LTO inspection.
Kung walang MVIC pa, yung dating sistema na report certification ng compliance emission issued by accredited PETC plus the inspection, visual or ocular inspection ng LTO ang batayan para sa renewal of registration.
Meron lang ho tayong tumatakbong 24 na MVIC centers dito sa bansa ngayon. Kung kaya't sa mga areas po na wala pa pong operational na MVIS center, maaari pa rin ho, katulad na nabanggit ni Asek Galbate, maaari po na emission certificates muna ang gamitin para po makapag-rehistro. Ito po ay para tuloy-tuloy po ang ating pag-rehistro at hindi ho makaabala sa ating mga motorista.
Vehicle owners will have to realize that the PMVIC is here to stay and all must adapt by ensuring their vehicles are in tip-top shape when renewing registration.
Most of the issues brought up against the implementation of the MVIS and the PMVICs themselves boil down to trust, or more accurately, mistrust. Still, many among the more sober observers believe the PMVICs need to be given the benefit of the doubt, as they themselves are just starting in this new endeavor. But others add that the LTO should regulate the PMVICs with a short leash. That's our Motoring Forum this week, courtesy of Suzuki Philippines.